You may have watched the short about the black sheep and something landed differently than it does for other people. Maybe it was relief, finally. Someone naming the thing you've carried your whole life. Or maybe it landed as a confirmation of what you've always believed, that you don't fit, that you're too much, that the problem is you. This video isn't about celebrating your difference. It's about understanding why the system needed you to be wrong and what becomes possible when you stop believing it. Every family has things it can't integrate, feelings that don't fit the family story, truths that would destabilize the system, traits that contradict the narrative about who we are. And the black sheep is the child of the family that needed to pour all of that into. You were the one that was visibly different. Maybe you were too sensitive or too defiant, too creative, too honest, too much yourself, too early in a system that needed everyone smaller. Maybe you arrived and you were already wired differently, neurodivergent in a family that runs neurotypical. Maybe you had a temperament that asked questions the system couldn't answer. Maybe you saw something true and named it. That act of naming made you dangerous to the narrative. So the family made you the container, everything they couldn't process, everything that threatened the facade, everything that didn't fit, that becomes your job to carry. And you learned very young that the moment you trusted your own read about yourself, you became ungovernable. So the system taught you not to trust yourself about yourself, only about everything else. And here's what it could look like now. You're the person who sees what's really is happening in the system, and you name the dynamic everyone is tiptoeing around. You point out the contradiction, the hypocrisy, the thing nobody is supposed to say out loud. And people often react to you like you've created a problem by naming it, when you've actually done is just see it. But here's the wound. You trust your read of the external world more than you trust your internal world. You can see systems dysfunction with crystal clarity. You can read a room and predict a pattern, identify what's broken, but the moment you turn that same clarity inward, doubt floods in. You're too sensitive. You're overreacting. You're the problem. You're the problem for pointing out the problem. You feel like a chronic outsider, even in rooms where you belong, where even among people who love you, there's this level of hum where you may feel like you don't fit. And you're constantly monitoring and adjusting and testing whether people really see you or just tolerate you until you reveal the parts that are too much. Relationships are where this really gets complicated. You want to be truly seen more than almost anything. It's an antidote to being unseen your whole life, but being truly seen is terrifying because what if they see you and then they leave? So you might test people compulsively, push to see if they'll stay, choose partners who are also outsiders because at least there's no pretense that you're supposed to fit, or you leave before they can leave you. The flight response is an action. Your external compass is sharp, and it's dangerously sharp. You see systems, you name patterns, you point to contradictions that other people won't touch, and you're usually right. The system doesn't like it when you're right about the system, so you get told you're being negative or difficult or too sensitive. But accuracy doesn't change based on whether people want to hear it. Your internal compass is scrambled because it was supposed to be. The system needed you not to trust yourself about yourself. The moment you did, you'd be ungovernable. So you learn to be silent in your own read and replace it with the system's read. So you're wrong, you're too much, or you don't fit in. It creates a specific pain. You know you're seeing something true about the outside world, but you can't trust that same vision when it's pointing at you. So you second guess yourself constantly, and you assume you're overreacting even when you're actually responding appropriately. You stay in situations that diminish you because you've learned not to trust your own signal, because that means that something's wrong. But the flip side is that your outsider position forced you to think originally, to build solutions that don't come from the playbook because you weren't playing by the rules. That capacity for independent, creative thinking, it's totally a gift. The black sheep are typically in fight and flight. Fight is the refusal to be erased. It's the truth telling. It's the boundary setting, the willingness to name what's actually happening, even when it costs you. Flight is leaving systems that won't see you, moving toward people and spaces where authenticity is possible. And here's what the system did with these responses. It called your fight aggression, your need to be right, your inability to let things go. It called flight abandonment, commitment issues, never staying anywhere long enough to really belong. But the gift in both, that's the capacity to protect yourself and the people you love fiercely, to refuse to participate in systems that require you to be smaller, and to leave situations that are damaging instead of staying and dying slowly on the inside. When that's working for you instead of against you, it's not defiance, it's truly integrity. What shifts when you stop believing you're the problem for being different? It's not a moment. It's a slow accumulation of evidence that your read of yourself might be as accurate as your read of the world. It's noticing in the middle of an old pattern that you're apologizing for something you don't actually need to apologize for. It's recognizing that people who love you actually want to see you, the real version, not the smaller, safer version. It's the strange liberation of choosing people who see you instead of testing whether they will. It's the possibility that your sensitivity is a feature and it's not a flaw, that your need to name what is true is clarity, it's not cruelty, that your outsider position isn't punishment, it's freedom. The black sheep who stops believing the family story about them doesn't become someone else. They finally become themselves. The person who sees clearly, who thinks originally, who refuses to participate in narratives that diminish them. They just get to stop apologizing for it. And that person, the honest one, the different one, the truth teller, they turn out to be exactly who was needed all along, just not by the system that tried to erase them.